Hey, what's up, everybody? Today, I want to share some of my life experience and connect the dots of what I've seen in my life um, when it comes to veganism, vegetarianism, plant based diets, and the transformations that I've seen from stopping these things. So basically, in life, we will encounter synchronicity, right? We'll encounter situations that are meant for us. And in my situation, so I've connected with a lot of women in my life, romantically, and what I started to see was patterns of meeting women that are on plant-based diets. And this is because I have this gift of um, basically bringing the awareness of what's happening in somebody's body when they're on a plant-based diet. And when I connect with vegetarians or vegans, I share what happens in the body, and they're able to connect the dots for themselves and see that it's happening to them. And every time this happens, um, they have eaten meat and they have healed whatever is wrong with their body. Usually it's their mind, right? Usually they are um in Ayurveda, right? You have vata, kapha, and pitta. And vata means you're like very airy. So it's basically like when you eat plants, it feels good at first, and this is why many vegetarians and vegans start eating plants in the first week or two, or month, few months, first few days, whatever. At first, they start to feel really good. Is because you get very vata. Your soul, your soul is in your chakras, right? That's your soul energy. That's where your life force energy is within your body. And what happens is your life force starts to come into the higher chakras, so you start to feel high, kind of like you smoked a joint, and you're like, oh, I feel good. And this is what happens every time. You feel good at first, and what happens is you start to become disconnected from reality. Your lower chakras aren't activated anymore, so you're not connected to the earth when you don't eat meat for periods of time. So you start to get very dreamy. You live in this fairy tale, this Disney world, because you're not connected to reality, you're connected to the spirit world. So over time, it has long-term effects on your life. And the lower chakras are responsible for making babies, having families, having relationships, safety, security. So that means back in the day, hunting and gathering. So now it's like making money, putting food on the table, putting a roof over your head. These are all um, connected with the lower chakras. And when your lower chakras aren't activated, life becomes very hard. This is why many vegans are suffering in life, and the depression rates are higher because when your lower chakras are not activated, you can't function as a human being anymore. It starts to become very difficult to be around people. Your relationships start to suffer. Finances can start to suffer. And the desire to have children is no longer there because your lower chakras is like the desire for worldly things. And that means, your legacy, leaving things on the earth, children, family, cars, whatever it may be, materialism, but things that are connected to the earth. So that's why I make these videos, because I want to help people, because um, my life experience, I used to be vegan, and I've traveled the world connecting with a lot of health people and people in the vegan world, and you start to notice patterns. And I have met many, many vegans. I have never met a long-term healthy vegan. It's very rare. It's possible, but veganism is a new age experiment. We've never done it throughout history. There's no tribes that are vegan. You cannot exist in the wild. You can't survive in the wild and eat plants. You can't get enough plants. And even if you can get enough plants, like you can today, shipped from all over the world, you're still missing a major part of the human diet, which is meat and organs and animal products in general. I just started experimenting with more organs in my diet, and I think that's a game changer. But yeah, I want to encourage everybody, and I want to make this very clear that veganism is a new experiment. You cannot find a tribe that exists in nature that doesn't eat meat. This is a fairy tale. So all of these lies going around, and you have to understand the big picture of what's going on. There's an agenda being pushed to make people believe that veganism is healthy, and I'll explain why. So humans are being domesticated. So if you look at a Chihuahua, right? All dogs come from the gray wolf. And over thousands of years, the gray wolf, through breeding, becomes a Chihuahua or a golden retriever. And what happens is it's no longer a strong animal. It's no longer healthy and strong. These little dogs are like full of cancer, and they're full of diseases now. They're very unhealthy. They're not like a wolf. And what happens is if you put the Chihuahua back in nature, it's going to die. It's going to get eaten. And this is what's happening to human beings, because we can no longer exist with our own sovereignty. Meaning we have to rely on the government to survive now because we're so weak and domesticated. And my message is, hey, we have to connect back to nature and we have to start becoming more wild again, or we're completely relying on our government, which is not there to help us. Government means govern, which means to control. Mint meaning mind. It's mind control. It's complete control over our sovereignty. So what happens is humans are getting very weak. They're getting domesticated. They're getting cancer, diabetes, all these things. And the vegan diet is the equivalent to a dog eating kibble. It's shit. It's garbage. It's not our natural. What humans would thrive on is bison, organ meat, basically wild plants and wild animals. And even the food in the store today is far from wild. Like potatoes, apples, kale, broccoli, cauliflower, all these vegetables, these don't exist in nature. These are domesticated vegetables, and what happens is over time they've lost their medicinal properties. So like the wild herbs have the medicine in them, and things like a sour green apple still has a little bit of the medicine, but these strong flavors like your bitter flavors and your sour flavors, these still contain medicine. So when we eat plants, try to consider the flavor in there and try to get some bitter foods in your diet, because this is the medicine. And this is why people are on so many pharmaceuticals, is they don't have medicine in their diet anymore, so they're eating pharmaceuticals which are bitter because that's the medicinal properties, but they're synthetic, so they're not the whole plant, and it just brings imbalance in the body and harms the body even more. So when we eat wild food, I'm gonna break down a simple, healthy diet that if you do these simple things, you're gonna live forever and you'll never have diseases, most likely. So how we evolved is plants, animals, bacteria, and fungi. So we ate plant foods, animal foods, bacteria, and fungi. So fermented foods and mushrooms are really important to keep your body strong and your gut healthy. Plant foods and animal foods. So when we eat animal foods, eating the muscle meat and organ meats, this is going to take your health to the next level. It's going to nourish your organs. So you're going to be nourished from the inside out. And your plant foods, fruits, vegetables, and when we also get the balance of um, cold foods and hot foods. So raw foods and cooked foods. And when you eat these four food groups and you balance the hot and cold, you just play with that and experiment with it, and your health is going to come to the next level. So yeah, I really just wanted to make this point about veganism. So over the years, connecting with women, um, I've connected with women. A lot of them have been vegan, and over time, I've explained this concept of the chakras and what happens in the body. Every single one of them, a light bulb went off, and they understood how true this was. Even if I've met vegans that have been vegan for 3 years and that are like very airy and they're not grounded and they're really having trouble in life. They might be smiling and happy all the time, but they can't function as a human. So every time they've connected the dots and their life has improved. Typically with structure, so building roots, like being in one place. A lot of time, when you only eat plants, you tend to travel a lot because you're ungrounded, and you really like can't find a home. So, like vegans tend to like travel from place to place to place, and they're very ungrounded. And what happens is you can't build community, you can't build friendships when you're always moving. I mean, those aren't real friends. Like people on your Facebook aren't your true friends. Your true friends are the people in your life that you see often. So what happens is the relationships start to suffer. They're always moving, and the meat kind of grounds you back to reality, and then you can actually build a foundation for relationships, finances, family, everything that has to do with living as a human being. I mean, you kind of need meat to function like this. And, we all need different levels of meat. Men typically are naturally eat more meat than women. I've noticed that black people, they need less meat. They do better on a more plant-based diet. Obviously not fully plant-based. The meat still plays an important role, but their genetics allow them to eat more plants and be healthier that way. So yeah, I hope this helps anybody. I'm really just sharing my story, and yeah, adios. That's it.